Hey there, it's Jake with Axe Talk. We're back again, once again, another day, another pedal demo. Today we've got the wonderful, wonderful Caroline effects in the building. We're here, of course, at the beautiful Open Chord Music stage in the Open Chord Music store, who have graciously provided us with this awesome Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. And also these wonderful pedals with a special guest appearance by Mr. Ball, the one and only Ernie Ball. It's the new Ernie Ball volume pedal with the built-in tuner. We've been asking for it for years, so shout out to Ernie Ball. It's a beautiful thing. Let's talk a little bit about these pedals. Caroline Guitar Company, they've been making some really, really beautiful stuff. I'm a big fan of everything I've tried from this company, but my particular favorites are these two, the Megabyte and the Méteore, which I believe I'm saying that right, I think, but either way, it's not really about pronunciation here, it's about the sounds that they make. So these are their lo-fi time-based effects, meaning we've got the Megabyte, the lo-fi delay computer, super cool, and then the Meteora, the lo-fi reverb. So these are really unique reverb and delay. It's definitely, it's hard to compare these to anything else. And honestly, I just want to kind of jump in and just kind of show some sounds. We'll start with them kind of just showing some basic stuff separately, and then we'll combine them together. And the reason, and you'll see why I have the volume pedal here, and it's because with these pedals you can create some really unbelievable, awesome ambient textures. So yeah, let's just go ahead and jump in on the Megabyte here. Let's just kind of see where we're at real quick. So just kind of getting a little bit of a slapback delay going here. Now one thing, you kind of had to decipher what these symbols mean on the pedal. But what we've got here is this guy is volume, gain, which we'll really get into that. This is your feedback, and then this is your overall time. And then we've also got modulation and tap division. And now the tap function does a couple of different things. It's not only just a tap tempo, but it's also what they call their havoc switch, which basically, we'll get into that in just a second. But yeah, but let's just go ahead. I'm gonna add a few more repeats, and we're just gonna get some sounds going. Let's turn this modulation up, and let's keep the gain a little low for now. But yeah, let's try some stuff out here. So nice stuff, very practical. Now, here's when we start getting into some really fun stuff. Let's go ahead and just take that feedback on up, and let's change the time a little bit. Let's start getting some longer stuff going on here. And in fact, let's go ahead and start bringing in a little more of this gain. This is gonna, now this works with the volume. It is obviously gonna get louder when you add more gain and more grit, but literally what it's doing is just adding grit to the delay trails. So let's just see what's up with that real quick. Really nice, super shoegazy sounding kind of stuff. Now let's see what happens if we hold down that havoc switch real quick. Okay, cool. All right, so it just takes off. You know, we can really get it to go into oscillation territory. Super cool stuff. Now, let's see what happens when we just use it to kind of just tap in a little bit. So. What's going on there? So, kind of like in an old school analog delay, or not an old school analog delay, but some of the newer analog delays that you see that feature tap tempo, since they're changing or sending signals to the actual time changing on an analog unit, though this is not an analog unit, they're modeling the idea that you're changing the analog circuitry. So because of that, you know, on delay pedals, when change the time knob like this, you get all that fun stuff going on. Well, with this, you get these abrupt changes in the time, and it can almost create these weird pitch shifted kind of things. So I'm going to turn this up a bit. Actually, we're going to go ahead and make it even grittier here. So for all your glitchy goodness, all your weirdness that you need, it's all right there. So really, really great stuff. Now, let's go ahead and just hop over for a second to the Meteora. All right, so let's go ahead and crank this guy up. So I'm just kind of got it set in, let's just see what happens when we go about halfway. Let's talk about the controls real quick, because once again, a little bit of deciphering to do. Level, gain, recycle, or regeneration. Not recycle, I don't know where that came from. Regeneration, and then room size. So these two are going to work together to create kind of the vastness of the reverb, as well as the amount of trails. And then this switch here, dark and light, so that's going to be your brightness switch basically for the reverb. And then once again, we have the Havoc switch, which is super fun. So let's just hear kind of a basic reverb sound from this. So nice stuff, you know, that would be a very usable reverb, you know, for practical uses. But we're not trying to be practical today. We want to get into the big stuff. We want to get into the wild stuff here. So let's see what we can do when we start messing with some stuff. So we're going to go ahead and increase. Oh, let's see here. I always go back and forth between these two. I'm not sure which one I want to do more of. So let's go and make it grittier. Let's make it weirder. And let's go ahead and just take it on up. Make that room size big, keep the regeneration going pretty heavy, and let's just see what kind of textures we can get. We'll keep it in dark, and let's see what kind of textures we can get with some swells here, with some different chord voicings and stuff. So that was a cool thing. I actually did not expect that. So the regeneration works kind of like a time knob on, or not a time knob, regeneration knob or feedback knob on a delay pedal. So if you put it up high, like with delay pedals, it'll kind of start to oscillate on itself. But we're just going to keep it, we're going to keep it a little lower because here's the thing, we can control that with the Havoc switch. Super, super cool stuff. Let's see what happens if we try that in the bright mode real quick. So yeah, just a much brighter delay trail just in general, or reverb trail. Sorry, I keep getting the two mixed up, but you know, we're about to talk about how they work in conjunction, and that's really when it gets fun. One of the really subtle settings, turning the amount of reverb way down and turning the gain up, but keeping it pretty long, you can get these cool things where you can almost create these distorted textures behind your guitar. Definitely really nice stuff, just very ambient, very cool. It can almost act like a whole nother layer of music under what you're playing. But now let's go ahead and start putting these guys together and show how we can really create some just vast and cool ambient textures with these two. So I'm going to go ahead and crank this modulation up a bit because I just really like how the modulation sounds on the Megabyte. And we're going to bring the gain back down. We're going to keep this guy a little dirtier for this example. I'm going to turn our feedback up a little bit. And let's just tap in the tempo here real quick. All right, let's try something with that same sort of reverb sound with the delay now. Forgive my 60 cycle hum. It's a Strat, you know.